this month's guest speaker, I've known her for a while, long time, through different conferences and the specific CRM platform that they use, their user conferences. So Farah Moat with Robbins and Morton is here to talk to us about things that she has learned over her years of experience in this. So I will turn it over to you, Farah.
Thank you. I guess Courtney asked me a couple of weeks ago to participate, and I have, at first was like, oh, what can I share that is new to you all and that would be helpful? So, when I was thinking about it, part of me, wanted to share some tips and some best practices that we've learned, but also even some challenges and some things that we're working on. And so maybe you even have some ideas that you can share from that. So I'm Farah Moat again. I am with Robbins and Morton, and I've been with the company for 15 years in March. So we are a construction firm headquartered in Birmingham, and we have 6 regional offices as well. So we do a lot of healthcare work. Probably around 90% at this point of our work is healthcare construction, but we also have a government services division. We do have a commercial division, and hospitality is really growing for us too. So, but we implemented CoCentral as the CRM platform we used. It was 8 years ago that we implemented CoCentral, and before then we used Access database for most of our project data. We didn't really track CRM information at that point. What you maybe in like standalone Word documents would be the best way that we tracked it at that point. So we really realized that we needed a tool to kind of help us streamline our processes and automate things, and then improve our accuracy and our data integrity in the end. So we decided CoCentral was the best tool for us, and have been using it ever since, growing it, and we're still continually growing how we use it. But we have 150-ish users, and when I say users, those are people within the company who we've set up an account for. They may have logged in only one time because we've done a lunch and learn, and they logged in just to see what it is, and that may be it. So I would say power users, people that are in it most days, would be closer to 20 people, and that is mostly marketing, a few operations, BD, administrative folks too, but mostly marketing every day. So I guess the overall topic I was going to kind of talk about how we've seen it is automating our marketing content. And, that's everything that with proposals mostly, but then we've seen some value, for our communications efforts, press releases and award entries and that sort of thing. Having this central hub of marketing data has helped across the board. And to start, the biggest piece of that is maintaining the data. And that is probably the number one, challenge for us. Is we have about 1,500 projects in CoCentral, and we track everything from the cost to the team, the owner, square footage, several different buckets. And so maintaining that and finding the time and making that a priority has been a challenge. So a few things that we do to help maintain the data is we have maintenance reports, and they're nothing fancy. Just want to show you. Can I go ahead and take the screen, Courtney? Let's see what happens. Do you see my screen?
Don't see it yet, but let me stop sharing and see if that helps.
Oh yeah, it says I cannot share while the other participant is sharing.
Okay, I stopped, so let's see if that helps you. Okay, I can see your screen now.
Okay. So the first maintenance report is a project's maintenance report, and it sounds fancy, but it's really just a basic report that we set up and we run weekly to see our projects in progress and pre-construction. Those are two of our biggest stages. And what is currently missing of those key critical data points. So, we have project name and city and state, architect name, contact, square footage, cost, start and completion dates, a description, or those are the key facts. And so we have someone who every week kind of goes through, pulls the report and sees, and she highlights what's missing. So there's a need here, a need there for the square footage, dates are missing on this project. Also, we have kind of a standard description format guidelines that we use. And so, if she sees something is kind of straying away from those guidelines, she'll highlight that as well. And then if the project is past, this is an in progress report, but the date shows that it's completed in March, she, highlights that entire project, because that marketing contact for that project, that division at that point is behind on closing that project out and updating the data with the project manager. So that's kind of what we use as a maintenance report for projects on a weekly basis. And again, it's, trying to keep that top priority with our marketing team to update. And we also do the same thing with our contacts. That's typically once a quarter, sometimes it may be twice a year, but Christmas during the holidays is a good time. We're actually, I lost my light in here. We're ramping up now. I think we just lost power in the building, actually. It's going to be dark in here. We're doing construction out in our building right now. We're adding a parking deck, so I don't know if that has something to do with it. But so Amanda on our team, she heads up our Christmas, our holiday gifts, and this is a time that she sent out maintenance reports to our management team, their administrative assistants, to say, this is your contact list, and these are who we have listed as your contact. Are they still active? If they are still active, she highlights we're missing an email. And from now on, emails are required for all of our contacts. So that's just a time that they can go to make sure there's an email and to make sure it's accurate, address, phone number, title. All of that's done in those contact maintenance reports. So once a quarter is typically when we like to try to pull those and send those out to the administrative assistants to help us keep them updated. And then we also do personnel maintenance reports to check to see, if we have everyone, we're not connected with HR's system, but they send us reports, I think twice or every 2 weeks on new hires or maybe title changes, transfers, if a project team goes to a different project. So then we get a tickler that we can update the personnel record and tag the project to that person or change their title. Or if they are separated from the company, then we change them to inactive. So we pull those personnel lists also to try to engage our people here and send it to them. Say these are the projects that we have listed on your resume. Is that accurate? And then we can update from there. So those are the main maintenance reports. We also use workflow notifications. We have several that are set up to show us when a project. Can you see this new document I shared? I don't know if I have to.
Not yet. No, I still see the in progress.
Okay, I think I maybe have to reshare. Let's see. Anything different now?
Yeah, now I see the notifications. Yep.
Okay. So this is just a list, and I won't read through them all, but it takes some time up front to set up the notifications, but at the end, it's really has been helpful for our marketing team. And I don't think I mentioned we have 13 marketing team members across those division offices. So our Dallas division, they are tagged to all the projects for Dallas, Orlando, Miami, the same way. And so if a project is starting 1 month from now, the marketing reviewer who is tagged to that division, they get an automatic email the system sends out to say, this project's about to start. It's time to start, gathering data with the project manager. And then if a project is going to change to in progress from pre-construction, same thing, it's time. So we get these little ticklers. If a project is 1 month away from its completion date, they'll get an email saying it's coming up. And then they've already gotten that 1 month notification. Now we're down to 1 day. You're 1 day away. If you haven't already, set up a meeting with the PM or send the project form of the details, you need to do it now. So those workflow notifications have been helpful. CoCentral also has a dashboard feature that has been, that's something I feel like that we definitely could improve our system on. And that's just, setting up different dashboards for your division so that their division's projects, contacts, opportunities, all of those things are top of mind. So I don't think I have one up now. I did. But that's, I think that it's been helpful for each coordinator to see. So this is Huntsville's dashboard, if you all can see it now. And so now Huntsville's opportunities for the marketing coordinator in Huntsville, they are top of mind because they're on her dashboard, the pipeline of the opportunities. It's not showing any projects because I'm not tagged to any of Huntsville's projects, but Stephanie's projects for Huntsville would all show up here. So then she can see, the status completed in progress in pre-construction and can stay on top of those projects. So those are the dashboards are helpful. Microsoft Forms is what we have just started using to actually request the new data from the project manager. So I'll show you what that looks like. I can find it on the share. So this is for Huntsville Hospital, Helen Keller Hospital. It's in North Alabama. It's a Microsoft Forms electronic form that the marketing person would send to the project manager, and typically we will fill in as much information that we may know about. So the project number is already filled in, the estimate number, the city and the state, and then ask them to complete all the other fields that we don't have. So, the categories are really big, what is included in this project. And then, of course, the start and completion date, the delivery method, the dollar amount, square footage, all of that is in this form. So we try to keep it, not too long. At the same time, we want all the data that we need. So I think it's close to 50 questions. But we've gotten really good feedback. They can do it electronically, and then they can submit, and it automatically sends an email to the marketing coordinator for that division. And then they, at that point, enter it into CoCentral. So it's fairly new. We've been using it for a few months, and we've already gotten really good feedback from some operations team members. So Microsoft Forms, and then also I have on here in-person meetings. We've had some success with those because some people don't respond to email, and this project form just never gets completed, or we don't even get a response. And the only way we get a response is if we send a calendar invite for a 30-minute quick meeting in person, and I actually have one tomorrow I figured out a couple of team members in a division, they respond better to just send me an invite, tell me which projects we need to talk about, and I'll be there. And so I pull up CoCentral up on the monitor, I project it up, and we go through tab by tab. He tells me the updated cost and change orders and the updated square footage, or he sees I have the wrong team members. And when he can see it all there in front of him, I just make the changes right away. So that's been, successful too. So we haven't found that there's one dream way to get the project data. So you just have to figure out how your team responds best and do it that way. So to also maintain the data, incentives have seemed to help us, with marketing. We are such a lean team, and our team does such a great job of, staying on sales and part of communication efforts, but the list is long and CoCentral isn't always at the top maintaining the data. So incentives, gift card giveaways, lunches, even just kind of like creating a praise board, or I've heard of people that have done wall of shames. We've never done that, but incentives, that sort of thing has kind of helped our team make it a priority to keep the data up to date. And then mapping out the processes and the guidelines for updating data. That's big, and we are kind of in a transition to figure out what that looks like. We've had some transition in our marketing team overall, so we really are looking for a way to make a CRM position, or at least someone's time is more devoted to CRM. So that is kind of where we're going. And then also guidelines. I was just going to show you quickly. We have, standards for how we project descriptions. So we have guidelines for, when do you capitalize? When do you use spell out numbers? And it may sound a little neurotic or OCD, but otherwise the project list is all over the page on how the standard descriptions look. And we have a paragraph form. That's the long narrative description that we usually use on our project sheets. We also have a version of these guidelines for that as well. So we try to, every now and then we'll kind of revisit these guidelines and standards with our marketing team if it looks like, things are getting junky. So that's important to establish up front with the processes has been for us. I also added engaging, I think I mentioned this earlier, to engage, each individual user into their personnel record, because the quickest way you're going to find out if somebody was not listed on a job is if they see it. You give them a resume and you're missing 6 of their projects, they're going to let you know right away. So having them just engaged, logging them into CoCentral. We've done this with departments. We'll buy them lunch and ask them to come in. We'll set up user accounts and get them logged in and show them how to search their name and go to their personnel record, and they kind of like to see what we have on them, and they'll let us know right away what's wrong so we can show them how to change it. So getting them engaged has been valuable for us. And then the last thing I have for the maintaining data is integrations, which we have not done a great job on in 8 years. We are currently working on our financial data connector. We are actually mapping that out. We're starting next week. So any of those integrations, connections that you can involve is, of course, helpful because you're streamlining the process. And then, so that's really, I guess, when I was kind of looking back and thinking through what have we done over the past 8 years? What have we been challenged with? What are we trying to improve regarding the data and maintaining it? Those are kind of the key things that popped into mind. And I think someone had a question. Can you send a copy of this document for us to use as guidelines after the meeting? And I certainly will share that. So I'll ask Courtney the best way to share that. And then, so I guess the next piece, with the data, publishing the content is, the next. If we've got good data, how do we automate publishing the deliverable that we send to potential clients? And that has been a big tool for us, using CoCentral's publisher module. And it's not easy to do, but once you kind of set it up and you're using it, it's huge, because you now have, at the push of a button or two, you can generate your resumes, you can generate your project profiles, you can generate your project list in a template, in a InDesign template, Word template. You have those 2 options, and it just really helps the process, especially how being in a deadline, a tight proposal situation, and you're scrambling to get all this resumes and profiles. And I don't know if your teams are like ours, but sometimes they're last minute. And so marketing is typically scrambling last minute. Having that easy to generate document, and the data's taken care of because of the maintaining it that we talked about. And so all you have to do is click a button and it's done. It's been huge for us. So we have challenges too with that is, like I said, it's keeping the team trained, I guess, and new members come in and knowing that process and how to use Publisher. So I think that's something that we could do better on is, hey, did you know that you can publish this and you have an option in InDesign or Word, and just keep that communication going and training for our marketing team. And then also keeping the templates fresh. We have really struggled with that. And I think we don't get as much engagement from our team because they don't like the way it looks. And so it's just really working to figure out, what are some new templates we can add and keep those fresh to keep, our team using them. And then engaging non-marketing team members. So we have, we're asked for resumes a lot, and we set up a template in Word. So, some administrative assistants for different managers, they need resumes a lot, and now they're able to go in and publish a Word template and have that resume. So that's kind of engaging other people outside of marketing. And so I guess to close, and Courtney, we didn't really talk about time other than I think you told me in an email, but am I completely off?
No, you're great.
Okay. So overall, the biggest pieces, I guess, are the data is accurate. We, originally when we had Access and standalone Word documents that we used, we had files here, like a resume file that someone in Dallas used, a different resume file that someone in Charlotte may be using. But those numbers, those, project descriptions, even project names, nothing matched, nothing was consistent. So that was always a struggle. And that was among divisions. Also, just here, I found myself at times finding a resume and a project profile within the same proposal that the data did not match. And it was kind of all over the place. But I was in such a time crunch, I didn't have time to go back and change 15 resumes or the project profile into I didn't have time to even cross-reference. So having the accurate data, and that's in itself just such a big value that we found. And honestly, to me, it's worth it just for that. I mean, to have confidence that your numbers are going to be right or your data is going to be right. And then the second piece of that is time savings. When we were looking into, purchasing a CRM system, and then we kind of did some numbers and time tracking of how much time does it take for us to maintain these different files and to spend the time cross-referencing. It was kind of eye-opening to see that all the time that's wasted, doing those things. So that, again, is a huge value for us to know that we can quickly generate these documents with the data and save us time and create time for us to do more important things to improve the proposal or the award entry in a different way. So those are the biggest, I guess, value benefits that we've seen for maintaining the data and then being able to publish the content from CoCentral's publisher feature. So I don't know if you all have any experience. Does everyone use a CRM tool with the group? And does anyone use CoCentral already?
I do.
Do you have the same challenges with the data updates, or do you have any tips for how you, in project specifically?
We all sat down and agreed to consistent formatting rules. And if there was any debate, that was the time to debate it, not after it's already out.
Yeah.
So instead of saying state of Alaska or state or SOA, we all got together in one room and decided on, and it's amazing how everybody thinks that theirs was the only way, but when you sit down and you actually talk about it, you realize that computers are different than people, and if you do a search for state of Alaska and somebody's written in SOA, it's not going to find it. So it's in everybody's best interest to get with the program. That was a big one because we have different names for the same project, and sometimes you couldn't even tell it was the same project because of the different names.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's helpful. We're still having the challenge of getting the information from the employees. We
Yeah.
still haven't really fixed that yet. But I wrote down some of your suggestions where you can sit down and actually do it with them over lunch or give out gift cards to people who actually give you data consistently.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll try some of those. So thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I had a question for you when you were talking about the HR's involvement in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a report, but do you get any other like sort of documentation as far as maybe like their street resume when they get hired? Like, do you get any of that?
So yeah, we do have a process for the HR, personnel updates. We typically, when we have new hires, new employees come on board, we are part of the notification process across the company. And we have someone on our marketing team who at that point does get their, existing resume. And we've created a form for those updates as well. And there are, the different pieces that we, ask for them to provide, reference information, any education information, certifications, that sort of thing. And then also we ask for we typically have their resume from HR, but there's, specific project information that we like to try to get to see, the size of projects and that sort of thing. So we do go ahead and list that on the form. And we have created this is new too, a workflow notification that when that new hire comes on board, they automatically get an email with the form to complete in a certain time. And I think we even tied an incentive to that. We have a Robinson Morton Company store. It's an online store that you can get everything from a koozie to a fancy golf shirt. So they get, if they complete the form, then they get a credit to the company store. So that has kind of helped streamline that process a little bit to get new hire information in there. And we do use Cosential's personnel project experience. They have a prior project experience section that we have started using a lot to add in previous work that the candidate or that the person has done. And so that helps us when they're going on a new project, we can at least add in their prior experience. And one thing that we've done with the pre-construction team is we've created a new report for them, and we have shown them a way that they can tag, and this isn't related to a marketing need, but it's one of their pre-construction goals is to see who has worked on church projects or who has worked on higher ed projects, who has worked on hospitality, prior experience, current experience, and then it even hones in on the type of higher ed, like within regions. So they've created their own specific tabs that are important to their department resourcing. And we've kind of worked with them to find different fields that they can use and create reports. So we're always looking for any way. It may not be a value for us necessarily, but if we can help another department and drive them to Cosential and show them the value of Cosential, then we try to do that, and then we'll typically have a lunch and learn to show them how to use it at that point.
Is your CRM part of your onboarding for new hires at all? Like a quick video introducing Cosential or anything like that?
So it's unfortunately not that broad, but we do have a new hire orientation that is a full day at our corporate office, and marketing is a piece of that, 30 minutes. So, you know, CRM is talked about and mentioned and briefly explained, but it's not, there's no training really, but there is in the email that goes out asking for their resume information. There is a link that directs them to our internal intranet, and there's more training resources about CoCentral there and how to get a login. And this is a single sign-on link to make it really easy. And then we also invite new hires, but really all the company. When we recently had a 4-series training session. They were, I think, 2-hour training sessions, 4 different ones, focused in on a module, and then kind of showing them through, asking questions at the end. And we had probably around 15, 20 attendees to each of those. So, and they were like non-marketing. So that's huge for us to get other people in to kind of see.
Stacey, I'm curious, I saw your note. What is WalkMe?
Sorry, I gotta figure out how to unmute. WalkMe is a little software that it's sort of like it reminds me of a macro where you can point the mouse on things on the screen and tell people where to click and what to do. So it makes a video and it basically walks someone through filling out our version of your form. You know, you said you had a form and you kind of showed your form. We have one for employees to fill out for their resume. And so it's a little video with an introduction. It says, why do you need to do your resume update? And then it walks them through how to go through that form. It's a portal for us, but it basically is essentially a form.
Oh, cool.
It's a really great product. And I don't think it's expensive.
Okay.
And we use it for a lot of technical folks when they just need a very minimal, 15 minutes or less training session. We don't do it for staff who are using our full CRM software. Obviously, they need much broader training. But for just the technical staff who need to do something like update a resume once a year, that's a little tool.
Good to know.
I just dropped the link in the chat if anybody wants to take a look at the software that she was talking about. I didn't dig for pricing, but there's the link.
Okay.
Yeah, you were mentioning time savings. A couple of other things I've done are we have a dedicated person who does updates for kind of each region and each division. But even if you don't have a dedicated person, we have an email that's just like, we call it pmp_updates@wsp.com. And whenever somebody has an update to a resume or an update to a description that they don't have time to enter themselves, they can email it to that email. And then one of us will pick it up and make those changes when we have time.
That's a great idea.
And the other thing we do is we create our templates with certain things like the job number and hidden text, so that if they do export a resume and they mark it up, let's say hopefully they're using track changes, we can then turn on the hidden text and see the project number and make those changes right away, not having to look up the employee or look up the project numbers again. So that's another really great tip that I've found is the hidden text fields on your Word resumes. It can be a little tricky depending on whether or not you develop your own templates. I'm not sure about CoCentral, how easy that is, but that's a huge time saver for us that are doing the edit and updates. And then the last thing I'll just say is we build our resumes with the marketing name and the summary of the project is the same for every employee. So the only thing we need from the employee is their role on the project. And that cuts way back on the amount of time that I need to sit with an employee to get them to update the resume, because I can give them 10 questions and say, just tell me what your role was on the project. It's 1-2 words, maybe a sentence, and we're done. Bam, updated. So that's another key time saver for us and our employees, is to sort of standardize the name and job summary.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for giving you that generic description?
So as the projects are created, or as they come in and are won, my coordinator who sits under me creates them for my region with the approval of the local marketing coordinator and project manager.
I'm curious, at what point in the project do you get that description? Because I know that scope changes over time. And then, like, is there an approval once it's complete? Like, hey, this is the final be all end all.
Well, that's a struggle. Right now it's at the beginning of the project, and then supposedly at the end of the project, but some projects, have a very long life. So we haven't quite figured out the best time to capture. So often that's the kind of stuff that comes in via the email is the updates like that. And it is an open system, so anyone can make changes. So there is no final. That's a little scary for some people. But we do try to respect each other's regions, and we do try to respect the project manager. And we have a place to note who made the final, who did the last changes and whether or not it was reviewed. But yeah, it's tricky.
My data control freak went nuts when you just said open system.
It does for all of us, actually.
So that I'm excited about the integration with our financial data connector for that reason, just to have one source for at least the cost, because that's one that we get just, wait a second, so-and-so said this. So, and like you, we've even started noting in the notes field per John Smith, on this date, that's the cost, so whoever trumps who. But now, we're going to see how it goes. But this is what our accounting system said the final cost was. Does anyone have any experience with that?
In y'all's descriptions, I know when I was marketing manager, we talked a lot about the consistency of cost in proposals, rounding to the nearest 1,000, 100,000. Some of the project managers are like, just round to the nearest million. You're like, okay, that's a bit much. Let's be a little bit cautious about that. So are you going to take that into consideration, or is it just exactly what's from accounting?
That's a good point. And that's, I feel like, what I'm at this point don't really even know, I haven't gotten into it enough to know. I think those decisions are going to have to be made, but yeah. And how does that work? Do we then, I'm not even sure that, but I think, we have gotten different opinions on that. It should be rounded. No, it should be the exact cost. So just kind of figuring out that process and consistent standard.
The other question that I had was, I liked that you were tying it to incentives. Have you tied it to anybody's review, with KPIs, whether it's specific key performance indicators per role, or is it just overall?
So it's funny you brought that up. We haven't done it for marketing, which I think potentially that may be a good, thing to add to our performance indicators, or at least we do typically include CRM as part of our, performance reviews, but not necessarily a metric or incentive, but maybe there's something a little more structured that we could do for that, because right now it's just kind of here and there, throw something out and see if we get more engagement. But I did a presentation in a operations managers meeting. They have those once a month here, and it's the leadership of our firm. And so I did a kind of what is CoCentral, what goes into CoCentral, and what comes out of CoCentral. And ultimately my sell was, this tool helps us win more work and get more business, and we can't do it without operations involvement and accurate data. So from that, we had one division manager who has tied it to his operations team, their performance, their bonus structure. So it's now like CoCentral project data, and that the marketing person there is, you know, if she doesn't get her project forms back or that sort of thing, she relays it to him. And it's funny though, since that happened, she's been getting her project forms like this, and it's kind of amazing. So now I've been talking with that, or I want to talk with that manager. Can you share that you've done that, and that marketing person share that, and so we can see that that's kind of been something that has helped. And I really do feel like until you have top-down support or mandating even, that's key, because everyone's busy. And until, you know, we do try to sell it and show them how important it is, but, you know, sometimes it takes a little more than that. But that's a good point though, to like, you know, within our marketing team, is that what you were referring to, Courtney, more so?
Yeah, we took it a step further on our team. For our firm, it's role specific. So like our data entry people, it's about accuracy and how much time it took. And then for our project managers, it's about how often did you keep your projects up to date. So it's very different.
Yeah.
Really, for our clients, we also see that just having a simple, like, did you log in X amount of times a year? That's not a good indicator, because they log in and log out.
Right.
So some people are like, well, how long were you in the system? And I'm like, oh my God, someone can have it open on their second screen. That's, you know, like, it's more about what did you produce within, even if it's like specific hit rates for, we're seeing a lot of that for business development people. So it's like, these are your specific hit rates, not just the overall hit rates of the firm.
Yeah.
I have a new puppy that's under my desk who I like bribed with peanut butter, and apparently she's done with that now. And now she's like feisty. Oh Lord. Peanut butter got a little hyper. Anybody else have other questions for Farrah? This was great. You were a wealth of knowledge.
I hope it was a little bit helpful. I don't, like, we are a constant work in progress, and there are so many areas. I go to the CoCentral Users Conference. That's where I met Courtney. I think it was the first one. And I hear all the great ideas and talk to different users, and I come back and ready to go with, you know, fresh ideas and attitude and a long list. And so it's just really trying to prioritize that at this point and make improvements as we go. But there's always, for, you know, things that we need to be doing, and trying to balance that with our other roles and responsibilities. But Stacy, thank you. That was really helpful what you shared too. I feel like that's something else I've kind of side noted, added to our list.
I think too, what's fun about these calls is kind of like that walk me thing. Like it's always fun to hear what other people are using.
Mm-hmm.
The Microsoft Forms. I'm curious, like, how did you go about building that? Is that just a free for all? Do you have to have a certain Microsoft platform to do that?
So it is part of our Microsoft Enterprise package. So I don't know what that exactly is, but so in all honesty, we had a summer intern that kind of started working on it this summer and building it, and it was good experience for her with the software. And then we refined it. And you know, a challenge too is this week we had a discussion. Do you guys use Microsoft Teams? Yeah, that has kind of been
yes,
yeah, 18 months, maybe 2 years. Our marketing team has really found value in that Microsoft tool. But so we have a specific channel that's CoCentral, and we, you know, try to, you know, include messages there and not emails, because then it's easy to search and you can tag people that can make things important. so we had just a message, I think yesterday, about secondary categories that we may want to add to CoCentral. You know, I forgot, I think it was, one was a ballroom. Should we call it ballroom or should we call it event space? Should we keep it broad? And then another one was city hall was another one that we didn't have. We have like a courthouse field or option. So someone said, should we? So it's all this should we, you know, in deciding on that, then you have to remember you're adding it as an option in CoCentral, but then you need to go to the form and make sure you add it there. And so it's kind of figuring out the best process for that. But, you know, so far the tool seems to be, and I'm saying this, easy for me to say because I didn't develop it and I haven't edited the form, but the people who did seem to think it was really easy to do, intuitive, free for us because of our Microsoft package. And then we have got, and on that same CoCentral Teams channel, I shared, you know, the feedback that we've gotten from it to try to encourage our other marketing team members to use it and try that out. But so far they said it's much easier for the PMs to get, to update and send back.
Well, that's really good. I put another link in there for a free version if you're not on Microsoft. The Formstack is one that I've used before. If you just Google online forms, there's a ton of them. You don't have to use, you know, Formstack or one of the others. But I use that too for collateral. Like my marketing department was getting a lot of walk-ups and interruptions for, hey, I'm going to go see this healthcare client. Can you make me a healthcare like brochure or collateral real quick? Well, how about you just go to the internet and print off the one that we made? And they're like, oh, but I need it custom. Like I need these. So what we would do is put a forum online on the internet, and then you would go through and pick out the projects that you wanted and pick out if you wanted to include anybody's resumes. And then it would come into our general marketing email, and then whoever had the work capacity to do it would take it instead of whoever just happened to be at their desk when someone walked up. So that really helped as well. And that was the first time we had leaned on like the electronic forms. And I did see your sign that you held up about incorporating that into the CRM or into CoCentral specifically. And I think that's a great thing for an enhancement request. If any of us do have CoCentral accounts, to put in a ticket saying, hey, I see that there's some of us that are using these forms. Is that something? I think the answer that we're going to get back is that that's what the SAMI survey was meant to be, and that's ultimately not what it turned into. I think they had high hopes for that, but I think it's worth letting them know that this is being used by their clients. Awesome. Well, does anybody have any other questions for Farah? Any other tips that maybe her sharing something sparked an idea in you to share with us? Sounds good. Well, thank you guys so much for participating. Thank you again, Farah, for your wealth of knowledge. We will include a write-up on our website for some of these tips. I'll also get some of the documents, Farah, that you said that you would be willing to share. You can send them to me, and then I'll include that in the email later, probably tomorrow, from Dacry on our team. She'll have a follow-up survey in there, and then all the links to the documents, and then to this recording as well. So I appreciate it, and thank you. Our next, I should have already had this pulled up, so pardon me real quick, but our next call is, I can't believe it's already November, but it will be November, oh, my Zoom is now popping back up. Let me close some of these windows. November 14th is our next CRM user group call, and we are looking for a guest speaker. So if you want that to be you, if maybe some of Farah's tips that she shared encouraged you to want to participate, then definitely let us know. I also want to let you know that we've started marketing calls that are monthly. that you can feel free to check out. It's general marketing information. So people have shared about websites that they've redesigned or different initiatives that they've put together on the marketing side of things, not so much CRM specific. We discussed marketing automations. Julie Schaefer, a consultant here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, did graphics and proposals. That was a fantastic one. The recording's on our website if you want to check that out. And then November 6th, Lindsay Diven with Marketers Take Flight is going to present on creating compelling content. I know she's around in the SMPS community, so she's fantastic and has great content. So I'm excited to hear what she has to share with us, and that's November 6th. So y'all have a good rest of your day, and I will hopefully see you next month on the CRM call or the marketing call or both. And you guys have a good rest of your day.